and welcome to From Leah with Love. And today I am so excited and honored to have the fabulous Vondi Lozano here with me today. And Vondi is, and I have to have my notes here because it's very impressive. So Vondi is a certified Life Between Lives hypnotherapist. She's also a licensed marriage and family therapist and former psychology professor who's been featured in Cosmopolitan, The Wall Street Journal, and on KABC Talk Radio. So welcome, Vondi. I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you, Leah. I'm very happy to be here.
Now, I do personally know Vondi, and besides her being all this amazingness here, she is also my soul sister. She is in my soul family. So, I mean, that's why I'm even extra excited to have her as a guest here today. So we're going to get started because it is so interesting, and I had to have all these notes here today because I want to make sure that we can get as much information in here as we can. So are you ready? Because this is going to be a great one. So Vondi, what led you to Life Between Lives hypnosis?
Well, I always share the story about my little dog. I'm one of those people who has a extra attachment to my animals. And when I lost my dog a few years ago, actually, I went to see a pet medium. Well, he's a people and pet medium, but I went for my dog. There were several of us there. My dog showed up first. They were all there for people, but my dog came through. And again, I always say only my little dog could have got me that far out of my comfort zone. And I was so grief-stricken that connecting with the afterlife was the only thing that really kind of comforted me at all. And I actually started training with that medium, and I would still be pursuing that, except I started neglecting my actual life, including my husband, who was getting a little freaked out by all of that. And on my very last class where I was doing mediumship training, and I think most people know, but in case they don't, it's where you talk to someone who connects with people and pets, spirits on the other side. And so in the last class, afterwards we were having snacks, and someone said, oh, you know about Michael Newton's work since you do hypnosis. They said, you probably know. And I didn't. And I learned that there was someone who did hypnosis that helped connect you to the afterlife. And that's when I just took off. And so it was a way to connect to that spiritual part of heaven, but also I found out you can learn why you're here, why you chose this life, what's your purpose, and I was hooked.
How does past life and life between hypnosis fit with your MFT therapy work?
Oh yeah, good question. The short answer is it doesn't, though I wish it did, because the life between life hypnosis is where you go to a life, the time in between your last life and this life, and you get to find out why you chose this life, what you're here for. And I work with a lot of people with trauma, so initially I hoped I could combine them to find out, like, kind of from a bigger perspective what's happening in people's lives. But really, marriage family therapy is about this life, and that's kind of the parameters and kind of what happened and why you're here. The Life Between Lives hypnosis is more how this life fits within your soul's whole journey and all the lives you've had and the ones even yet to come.
How does your past life hypnosis fit with Love Between Lives hypnosis?
Okay. And Love Between Lives is actually the name of my website and my business, but the hypnosis is called Life Between Lives.
Right. Oh,
the
right.
Michael Newton
right.
version.
Right.
I couldn't use that, obviously, because it's taken. So that's because it is all about love on the other side. So it was an easy kind of choice.
Perfect.
Exactly.
I love that.
And so past life hypnosis is kind of the entry point into the Life Between Lives hypnosis. So kind of like a near-death experience where someone dies and then sees the light and crosses over. That's sort of what Life Between Lives does. They say it's like a near-death experience without the death. So to get you there, as you know, because I've done them with you.
I'm like, oh, yes.
In groups and individually.
Yes.
Is you go to your immediate past life, and I talk with my hands, so. You go to your immediate past life, and then we go to your final day, and then you cross over into the time after death, And then that's when the Life Between Lives session begins. So when we do a past life session, we just do a little bit where they cross over and meet their guide. The next session is a Life Between Lives session, and that's where most of the session is spent between the last life and this life and all that happens in there.
Yeah, which is incredible. And I have to jump on that in stating that being in that space where I don't know how to like with your counsel, you know, I just having that, just being face to face there, for me personally, it changed everything. The way, I mean, it's weird. It's like almost things I kind of already knew, but it just clicked. And I could go off on a tangent about all that, like how it was, but it's just so amazing to me. And I've always been interested in the afterlife and the why and the hows. And so that kind of gave me a lot more insight to that. And it just made me, it just made things click.
It kind of puts everything in perspective to me.
Right.
It's like it answers all the questions.
Right, right. And some of them you already knew. I know it's just validation. And that's what changed for me when I did this. And now I'm like, okay, I'm at every workshop and I'm at everything, you know. I had to do my sessions because it is something that it's settling. It's settling.
Well, just there's a big movement right now about using psychedelics to have spiritual experience.
Okay.
And when I hear people talk about that, I feel like this creates that experience, but not under psychedelics, obviously. But that spiritual, life-changing, transformative, like finding a unique perspective on yourself and life and the bigger picture. And even under psychedelics, the podcast I listen to, they say, you know, that we're all one, and that's part of what people have sometimes discovered. And that's what this is all about, is we're all one, and it's all love.
Right, and you're right about that, because I have been reading, it's funny that you said that, I'm reading about people using the psychedelics to enhance it, but you don't need
right.
that.
This is drug-free.
Yes, and you are on this crazy journey, and you're floating, and you're flying, and you're talking to people, and you're like, what? Yeah,
exactly.
you don't
exactly.
need that. And I would feel like you even feel lighter and brighter when you're done. Now, I can imagine if you're going to be on something and doing that, you're not going to feel as light and bright when you're coming down.
Well, and again, not to get off on that too much, but there's risks. It said like in 10% of the cases, there was really serious risks, you know, like a psychotic break or...
I'm sure.
Yeah, and so I was like, this has that without the side effects.
Be clear-headed and, you know, get to process it. So let's go into the myth, if there is a myth.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Myths about past life
Yeah,
hypnosis.
any common myth about it and how you can debunk it.
Well, some of the things I hear, first of all, is people say, what if I can't be hypnotized? And I've had people regularly say they haven't been able to, and my experience is if you want to, you can be. So I've not had any trouble with that. Mm-hmm. So that's one. The other is that they're going to discover something scary or dark or something they wish they hadn't known, like a life where they were a terrible person. Okay. And again, that's not been my experience. Sometimes the lives are painful in the sense that they're emotional, and people will cry, and that surprises them. There's a lot of energy there. Mm-hmm. But what I've been taught and what I believe is if there's a lot of energy there, it's time to release it. You know, how many hundreds of years have you been holding on to that? So those are the main ones, that it's going to be scary or they're going to uncover something really deep, dark, awful. And usually, as you know, they uncover something powerful and beautiful and maybe hard, but it's related to what they're going through now, and that's why it's shown to them.
Right, and then that's, again, I could go back to where it clicks, like something clicks, and you, oh, this is why in my life now, this part of my life is a little complicated because of something that had happened in this lifetime. So it's just it's so fascinating. And again, I could go on for hours and hours talking about it, analyzing it, and picking it apart, because it's just experiencing it firsthand myself. It's absolutely fascinating and life-changing. And I'm sure I'm going to say that 100 times here today because it is.
Well, and I was going to say I jotted some notes, and some of it was reminding me of the multiple past lives that you visited. And is it okay if I mention some of them?
Yes.
So we have the one that we filmed, which went back to Egypt, and where you were helping women, and it was painting. Remind me of the specifics.
So there was we were painting. I was also helping them to learn how to bake bread, just to be creative, but also self-sufficient too, because there was younger girls too and women. It was all about having a circle of women around me.
Right, and you have a circle of women around you today, and you paint women and help them, empower them. And I was writing down, I think your very first one was Millie, and she was a writer.
Yes.
In a time where women didn't do those things.
Right.
Janice, the singer.
Yes. I still get butterflies when I think of that one. I'm still like, what?
And we always wonder if that was the self-destructive Janice that we all know and love.
Right.
And then there was one more. Oh, and then the most recent one, which I so wish we had filmed, where you discovered things about yourself that were an important part of this life, and it's really personal. So I'm going to let you decide if you want to share about that one.
Yeah, no, that's totally fine. I mean, I was born with a gift, and it was actually mediumship, and there was some magic there that my mom had shared with me, and I just remember at that time when it was. I can't remember the times that it was. Was it I can't remember the year exactly what it was, because that's one of the things that I love that you do in these is that we uncover what year it was. And right now I can't remember. Was it 1800s? I can't remember. But anyways, yeah.
Because it was right around the time that would have been happening.
Yes. Okay.
What you discovered. Yeah.
Yes. So therefore, I was a group full of men broke into my house. They took me away and they burned me at the stake. And I remember talking about it during the workshop. I just started crying just talking about it because that pain, and it was just because we get to witness that and just seeing that, it was so but it also felt good at the same time to release that pain, to just let it go.
And you said that as a teenager you were interested
in
things
that's
like
right.
that.
I loved like doing spells and doing like little witchcraft stuff. So yeah, that was also kind of crazy too. Like, oh wow, I kind of took that part with me into this life. So that's what's really interesting. One question that I do have, and I'm sure other people may have, is do you feel that there's a connection between dreams?
Oh yeah, good question.
Past lives?
I didn't used to, but from what I understand and what I'm always learning too, is to me dreams, deja vu, oftentimes those are where we're kind of dipping into a past life, especially if it's a dream you have repeatedly. Like I have certain dreams that take place, and I can picture it right now, on like a cliff of a bluff overlooking the ocean. I want to say the sea, so maybe it's not the West Coast, but I have dreams that are regularly in that place. So, and even in the dream, I feel like I've been there before, like, oh, I come here all the time, or and then I wake up and I think I've never been there. But to me, when we return to certain places over and over, I think there is a good chance that it is maybe from a life that you lived before. And I've heard that from other people too. And I think deja vu might be similar.
Yeah. Yeah, because especially in dream, you're in a different state. So that would make sense to me too. But yeah, I could go on again, talking about deja vu too, because that's what is that?
Well, and some people would say deja vu is also when you're connecting with your people from the afterlife, your soul group. So you don't just have a soulmate, you have a whole soul family that you incarnate with over and over. But we take up different roles at different times.
Yes.
So you might be my friend this time, my sister last time, my husband next time.
Yeah.
So we in the last stop before life, at the end of the Life Between Lives session, we ask if people have arranged with their soul group for any sort of triggers or red flags or ways to recognize each other. And so deja vu could also be that too.
Ooh, I like that. I really like that a lot. So when people do seek a life between lives session, what are they looking for?
Usually a sense of direction, like they're feeling stuck or blocked or lost. Or some people, it's just they've read the Michael Newton books. It's Journey of Souls is the first one, the main one that people read. And then they just say, I have to have this, kind of like me when I discovered it. I was like, oh my gosh, I have to learn how to do this. I have to have my own sessions. I have to start doing this in the world. But it's usually kind of a sense of who am I, where am I going, what is my purpose in life is probably the biggest one. Yes. And people are allowed to bring questions, so they can bring up to five, sometimes even 10 questions. And at a certain point in the session, we'll actually stop. And I was looking through your session this morning where we stop and I say, is this a good place to ask some of Leah's questions? And then you can ask questions about this life, like how am I doing? In fact, one of yours was, am I on the right track with my business? And I wrote down some of it, and they were things like, yes, I don't know if you remember, they were like, yes, go bigger, you can do more.
Yes, I remember.
So I wrote some of it. Huge potential. Yeah. The jury and your guide simultaneously, the jury was your counsel, the elders on the other side who kind of guide our lives. Go bigger. So I actually wrote a quote. Is it okay?
Yes, absolutely.
They said she, meaning Leah, could break that shell that has kept her small and allow herself to shine and not worry about what other people say. And then this is my favorite part. It's okay if I keep going? One female jury member got right up close to your face. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And said, you already have this. You have power. Don't dumb yourself down. Don't be afraid to shine. Don't be afraid if people can judge. And I just remember... Yeah, I know. How is it even when I say that?
Yeah.
I know. Yeah. It's emotional,
It is.
So to me, that's just everything.
Yeah, it's so powerful. It's just, and to hear that again, it brings it right back. Like, yep, that's right. And so I love that we get the recording. Yeah, I love that. So each session is unique.
Yes. Oh, good question. Oh, and I was going to say too, I'll remember more than you'll remember because you're a little fuzzy in it. So yeah, that's why we record it. But also, since we've been in each other's lives, you know how I'm always reminding you. Well, remember they said, go big or go home, So I don't know. I just get all excited. So that's why people come. They come with these little questions and then they get these big answers. Like, am I on the right track? And it's like, yes, go bigger. You're huge potential. Anyway, so that was really exciting.
Awesome. So each person does have that unique experience.
Everybody's session is a little different. So there's kind of a handful of like stations, if you will, that people visit. Like you meet your spirit guide usually when you cross over, and that's the being who's been guiding you since your soul was created, basically. People often go to a healing station. They visit their soul group, their soul family. They go before the elders who guide their lives, and then the station before they come back. But each session is unique, and some completely go off-roading. And one session they told me, put the book away, this isn't in there. Because we have a book of questions to ask at different stations. And so some, like, you have to sort of set it aside, and the guide just takes you in a completely different place.
Wow. Yeah, it's so amazing. Like I said, it blew me away. And so, and then it's just, I'll say it again, it's just a life-changing experience, and you just get a lot of the answers. Like so many.
Well, and I love that this show is about kindness and love and hope and inspiration, because that's what we learn it's all about.
Absolutely. So that's what I mean. You leave feeling lighter and full of love, because no matter what that life was before, even what your life is now, when you realize it's all love, you feel that love, and it's so amazing and just, again, life-changing. I mean, there's no other word.
And what you said is really interesting, because people often cry when they meet their guide, or when they're in the life between lives part, the heaven part, if you will. And they're just overcome with the sense of being home and feeling loved.
Yes. Yeah, and in fact, the first time I ever did meditation about almost 5 years ago now, I went into meditation. It was the first time I did a group meditation, and that was the one of the first things I heard from when I first met my guide and all that was, "Oh, welcome home." And I'm like, "Oh yes." Mm-hmm. So it's just so beautiful, and that it's all love, mm-hmm. and that's why
it is
love between lives.
Exactly.
So that makes
Thank
sense. What are some of the most interesting LBL sessions that you've done?
Well, yours was fun.
Yeah.
And let's see, I jotted down a couple others, but the one was the one where they told me put the book away, and your guide, and then definitely the council, they're not incarnating anymore. So they used to be here or other places. It's not always on Earth, but the council stopped incarnating a long time ago. And the person where I was told to put the book away, they were actually a council person.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
I know. And I couldn't figure it out at first because I tried to get them to go to a council, and that's when they said, yeah, put the book away. The answers aren't in there. And they were so advanced that they even had trouble speaking as I. They spoke as we, because we are all one.
Oh my gosh. Mm-hmm. Oh, that gives me the chills. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's amazing.
And so that was a pretty amazing one. Oh, I mean, I could share more, but I don't know how many we have time for.
Because you said they were part of the council. So is it true that advanced souls choose harder lives?
Yeah. So the way it works is that's real life, and this is school. Mm-hmm. So over there we're teaching, we're in classes, we're making energy, we're creating life, we're doing all these things. We have jobs. It's not just angels and wings and floating. And we have personalities. We have personalities that are kind of consistent, yes. As souls. But the more advanced the soul, they want to challenge themselves. And every now and then, souls will just take an easy life, kind of like, I'm going to take a vacation. But the general rule is, the harder the life, the more advanced the soul. And you've heard me share this. My mom was disabled and had a really hard life since she was a child. She was paralyzed. And right before she passed, which was a few years ago. And it was wonderful because I was studying and learning and training this, so we had a language. We would talk about these things. She was kind of open. But anyway, I would say to her, Mom, I don't know what you were thinking. And she would say, me either, because it was such a hard life. But the general rule is the more advanced the soul, the harder the life. And when I've prayed and meditated, and I'll talk to her a little bit, I say, you must be a rock star over there. And she's like, yes, I am. You know?
Oh gosh, that's so beautiful. Mm-hmm. I love that. I love it. So what do your family and friends think about your work?
Well, my husband always reminds me that I was working as a youth leader at a Presbyterian church when he met me, and I have a Master's of Divinity from an evangelical seminary, which means Christian, and he was like, what happened to you? You know, so he's kind of been pretty supportive and open. And
absolutely.
He's let me do his own past life session, and he attends and films the workshops. And so considering that it all kind of makes him a little uncomfortable, he's pretty good. And other friends and family, it's funny, I feel like I gravitate more towards people who are more open to it now. Right. And then my family has always been a little, we call it intuitive, you know, kind of connected wirelessly, if you will, sort of spiritual in that way. In fact, so a lot of them were more open because I came up in a more sort of Orthodox Christian upbringing and schooling and everything. So some of them got there sooner than I did, so they just think it's great. In fact, if anything, it's tricky because they would like me to do sessions for them, and you can't always do them for family. So overall, they're pretty open except for my husband. And he's open. It's just a big stretch for him.
Yeah. Where do you see yourself with the love between life? No, life between lives?
Yeah. You can just call it LBL.
Okay.
And then you've got it going either way.
All right.
LBL hypnosis.
All right. PLR.
Past life.
LBR.
I know, it's a lot of...
Where do you see yourself with that hypnosis in the future?
Well, I really, as you and I've talked, you know, I would love to find a way to get the word out. I mean, that's one reason I'm so excited to be here. I really feel like, well, I was going to say, I feel like everybody should have an opportunity to do this. Yes.
And I'm sorry to cut you off, but I really believe that everyone watching this needs to do this. It will change your life. It enhances your life. And I feel that it should almost be this mandatory thing that everybody does, and the world would be a better place. I mean it.
Well, and they say the veil is thinning. Have you heard that?
Yes.
You know, between us
Yes.
and the other side. And
Yes.
so there is kind of this interest in these kinds of things that I think, you know, wouldn't have been there, not, you know, a generation ago. So my hope would be to, we talked about, you know, take it on the road or have a show or something where I'm regularly able to do the past life workshops for big groups of people and then introduce them, because when we do that, then we tell them a little bit about the life between lives or show them a little clip of a session, and then do more individual sessions all around the world. Would be my goal.
Yes, I love that. So how often do you put on these workshops that you just mentioned?
Oh, usually every quarter, roughly. So we have another one coming up in September here in Ventura.
Oh, yes. I'm pretty sure I will be there. I've turned into a groupie. So, I mean, I just love them because even just the workshop itself is so great. So you just get a taste of it. And I really think that if you are a little bit skeptical or you're not too sure or you're afraid, whatever it is, I would highly recommend going to the workshop and getting that experience, and then you will definitely want to book their session with you.
Because you get you get to visit a past life in the
Yes,
workshop. It's
yes.
not like I've had people come who say, I thought I was going to a lecture.
Right.
and it's actually a group
in it.
session. Yeah.
At least one of your past lives, and it's amazing. So thank you so much, Vondi, for sharing. I mean, I could keep going on and going on about this, and I want you to let us know what your website is, and so you can share that so everyone can go and find you.
It's Love Between Lives. I have to think. LoveBetweenLives.com. And then before we wrap up, can I read something that I brought that I felt like maybe the guides wanted to share?
Yes, absolutely.
This was from the first session I did, and it was a very young soul. And when he went before his council, he kept saying, I don't feel I did enough in that last life. And he just kept being hard on himself, with it, which I think a lot of us are. And this was what they said to him when they asked him. We don't care how well you do. This makes me emotional. We just care about you. Our answer will always be, you're doing fine. You're doing wonderfully. Mm-hmm. And to me, that was just so beautiful, because he was so like, did I do it right? I don't feel like I did a good enough job. And it was like, we don't care how well you do. Like, we don't even care how you did in that life. Our answer will always be, you're doing fine. You're doing wonderfully. We just care about you.
Yeah. That is beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. So again, this is Vondi Lozano. She is the hypnotherapist extraordinaire. And her website is lovebetweenlives.com.
Yes.
And so I would really highly recommend you check her out. You get to a workshop. Just go to the website and go peek around in there. So thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you so much, Vondi.
Thank you,
so
Leah.
exciting. This has got to be a part 1 of part 2, 3, 4, 5. Because there's so much to talk about. So thank you so much, and have a beautiful day.